Hey, everybody. Welcome to Movie Talk with our special guest, Tones from Tones Overthinks It.
Hello, everybody.
This is something new for both my channel right now. I love movies, and I wanted to get the point of view of some great films and movie discussions with other content creators. So I figured let's start with one of the foremost experts on comedy and Mel Brooks films, Tones.
Thank you. As anyone may have noticed, I love Mel Brooks movies, and I use clips from them everywhere I could in my videos as sort of reactions. There's just something about it. I grew up watching all those films, probably saw a few of them when I was probably too young to see them, but they there was something about them. It's where they were making jokes that clearly were controversial, but it was at an era where I don't know, it was better to laugh at these things. Like he made it so, like I try to remember what he said. It was when it came to discussing controversy, the idea of taking something negative and turning it into a laughing stock. Like he did that with, anytime he ever referenced Hitler in any of his films. I think Mel Brooks himself even said the best way to defeat Hitler was to make him into a laughing matter, just the butt of jokes.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
Well, before we get any further, I want to thank everyone here. Maddie, Agent of Chaos, Jared Reed, my evil twin, Tones, of course, Chris and Tim. Welcome, and all everyone in the back lurking. So, Tones, your love of Mel Brooks started at childhood, right?
Oh yeah, it was many years ago when I was. Every time we visited my cousins, they always put on three. There were three Mel Brooks films that would be on every once in a while. Like there would be Spaceballs,
mm-hmm.
Blazing Saddles, and Young Frankenstein.
All three great movies.
Yeah, and those three are in my top three. If I were to expand to a top five, well, first of all, Blazing Saddles is number one. Number two would be Spaceballs, and number three, Young Frankenstein. And then if I were to go into a top five, number four would be Robin Hood Men in Tights. And number five would be, it's mostly a tie, but because it's always hard to say, number five doesn't mean it's the worst. But I would say, Silent Movie is a good one, but at the same time, History of the World. Yeah, History of the World usually comes out on top in the fifth spot.
Oh yeah. All five great movies.
Oh yeah, and there's the others like the Silent Movie, Life Stinks, High Anxiety, The Producers, just to name a few.
Oh yeah. So, Mel Brooks was a pioneer when it came to doing parody movies.
Oh, absolutely.
And since you brought up Young Frankenstein, I have to admit, it's like one of the first Mel Brooks movies I've ever seen, and I fell in love with it. Being a horror guy and loving a good laugh, just the jokes in there.
Oh yeah, the whole cast was hysterical. I mean, Gene Wilder stole the show with his usual way of acting. You had Terry Garr and oh god, why have I forgotten his name? Marty Feldman. Marty Feldman was great, and Peter Boyle. When you think of Peter Boyle, you don't think that role. Like you just think of there's something, or no, Everybody Loves Raymond, or some of the movies he was in, as that older fatherly figure. But then you go back and realize, oh my God, he played the monster, and it was just, it was so funny.
And I have to say this: it's one of those movies that actually showed off his range as an actor.
Oh yeah,
because you get that great monologue at the end, where he's telling the villagers, I am a monster, but I am acting human while you're acting like monsters.
Yeah. Well, I think he used a bit of the lines from the book. If I cannot inspire love, instead I shall cause fear. But it's just funny how that turns out. I actually, when I was really young, I didn't quite understand how that whole scene worked. I thought that maybe, did they just put Gene Wilder's mind inside his body. You know, they like switched brains or something to
Mhm.
just to get people to realize, oh, okay, he's not a monster. Then they switched back. But no, actually, what he basically did was he gave a part of his brain to him so that he wouldn't be as, you know, Abby someone, as we like to say, instead of abnormal. But, you know, it's kind of funny. And, you know, like the whole end scene with him and Madeline Kahn. I mean, the whole scene with him and Madeline Kahn was hysterical.
Oh yeah. I
Like,
I think another great scene in that movie is Gene Wilder playing darts with a constable.
yes. With Inspector Kemp. I love that. He just keeps.
What's that over there?
Yeah. Well, no, he just keeps like yelling words, like, you know, making him throw it through the window. I just love the fact that there are more darts outside, like in the tires, not only in the front and rear one, but the spare, and in the driver's hat. And yet he only threw 2 out there. It's like we know that many didn't go out there, but it was still funny.
Oh yeah, and I have to say this. You know, one of the funniest running jokes in that movie is it's not Frankenstein, it's Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Oh no, that movie inspired so much. I gotta say, like, I mean, the whole Frankenstein thing. Like when I played I'm also a fan of PC games. When I played the game Return to Castle Wolfenstein, I kept telling my dad, yeah, Return to Castle Wolfenstein. And that's not the only thing that happened. Like, if anyone remembers the train station scene, the whole, like, every time he wants to touch Madeline Kahn, there's always something that can't be disturbed. In the end, they just bump elbows.
Yeah.
Like that became the standard greeting for family anytime somebody might be sick. Like we just adopted that method.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and I'd like to think other people do it. That's where it comes from.
And that is one of the funniest things is he took real life things and he incorporated them into his movies, especially with what's that? The whole jump scare of the violin, and then we get that great little joke of, oh, what great knockers.
Oh yeah. What knocker? Or is it Marty Feldman, just the different heads, how many months dead, or it's like the other one freshly dead, it just starts going, I ain't got nobody and nobody cares.
Well,
it's just random stuff like that. It just made you laugh.
And I agree. It was one of those movies that you could actually sit down, watch, and just have a great time.
Oh yeah.
And another one you brought up was Blazing Saddles.
Yes, that one, that is my number one favorite. It's just so funny, and yet the thing about it is, there's even a joke today where, oh, if they made Blazing Saddles today, you see the opening title sequence, all of a sudden it just goes to the end, because there is no way you can make that movie today.
Oh, I know it, but that was one of the things I liked about Mel Brooks is he was not afraid to break the molds of Hollywood.
Exactly, like he. I mean, it's there's actually a great comparison. I'll start with this. In Blazing Saddles, yeah, they said the N-word a lot, you know. And the thing is, by the time they stopped saying it in the movie, you just didn't care anymore. It lost its it lost the shock factor. Like it stopped being offensive. It just started being a joke. Like, especially the guy on top of the roof. Like every time he decides to say it, the bell rings. It's like, we're going to try to censor it now.
I mean, it's more predominant now in the vernacular of everybody, even though they're not trying to be offensive. It's just because you hear it so much.
Yeah.
Especially in music and period pieces, you hear it definitely a lot there. But yeah. I just love how Mel Brooks, he's like, okay, I'm going to have a lead actor be a black man in the 70s. You didn't see that a lot.
Yeah, it's true. And I think I don't think I've ever confirmed this, but supposedly, I know they got Cleavon Little, who he did a fantastic job, but supposedly they considered casting Richard Pryor for the role, and I would have made sense because he and Gene Wilder were doing great movies together, double acts like they did. I think Hear No Evil, See No Evil. They also did, I can't remember the title of it, but it's where they like prisoners, but they have to do a
Stir Crazy.
rodeo. Yeah, Stir Crazy. And then they also did the Silver Streak. So yeah, the two of them were comedic duos. So to have the two of them do this movie, that would have been a Western. That would have been funny. But yeah, Cleavon Little did a great job, and they did it. It was phenomenal. Just the writing of it, like it's such a simple, straight up movie, but then near the end, it just goes completely off the rail. Like it is by far the biggest fourth wall break I've ever seen. Like it just goes nuts, and then you got like cameos by other actors who showed up in his movies. I'm having problems remembering names suddenly. Dom DeLuise. Okay, there we go. It's coming
Dom
back.
DeLuise.
I like that whole.
I love him as the director. I'm like, okay, that scene of them breaking into that movie set.
Yeah, that was so funny.
And then you saw the old prospector fighting with one of the singers, going behind the stairwell. They're coming back like, so I get off set about 9.
Well, I parked over by the commissary. Iron Wolf makes a good point. Richard Pryor did help do the writing for it, so I think they were looking at him for that role. So it's like that was so that's where I figured it was going to be for him, because a lot of people know that when they did the Ghostbusters movie, which is also a great comedy that kind of makes fun of horror films. Like I like to think it's a comedic parody of Poltergeist.
Oh, I definitely would say.
But yeah, they were writing that film with Eddie Murphy in mind, and in the end they went with Ernie Hudson. So yeah, so sometimes like the actor you intend to write a part for, if they end up not doing it, sometimes the guy that replaces them do a better job.
Oh yeah.
But to circle back to the idea of you take something shocking, but then you basically overblow it to the point where it just becomes comedic. Another example, just to go on a side tangent, from the 80s, the RoboCop movie. For those of you who remember it, like there's a scene at the beginning when they test the giant robot drone thing, and it just ends up shooting somebody.
Yeah, at 209.
Yeah, when the Ed 209 shoots the guy, like first you're horrified, but then the fact that it's still shooting him even as he's dead, like after a while you cannot help but laugh, because it's like, okay, now it's becoming overkill, it's becoming ridiculous. So they took something that would otherwise horrify you in any normal movie, but then makes it into something that you just remember, that you just have to laugh about. So I think that's what Brooks was doing. Like he took the concept of, that time period was, racism was really high, and he somehow made that film work, where it's like we just started laughing at the people who were being racist. So
I mean, that's a great point. And even Iron Wolf brings up another great point, is the Chevy Chase Richard Pryor SNL job interview sketch.
Ooh, I don't think I saw that one.
Oh, it's Richard Pryor goes in for a interview, and Chevy Chase is interviewing, and they do word association, and it starts devolving into racial epithets.
Oh God, no.
And I dare not say them due to the overlords, but it goes from like mild to the N-word.
Oh jeez.
And the funny thing is, Richard Pryor's response to that is, he gets called one, then he says honky, and then Chevy Chase says the N-word. He goes, dead honky. And it ends with Richard Pryor getting the job as the new janitor and getting 3 weeks off before he starts with pay.
Oh, that's hilarious. The funny thing is, I'm glad you mentioned SNL, because SNL skits, like the Mel Brooks movies, those weren't afraid to push the envelope. And today we have ones that are, I don't know, take them as you will. Sometimes they're meant to maybe do more social political jabs at things, but, and I don't know, maybe you could say it's still got it, but I don't know, skits back then were a lot more creative. These days they just feel kind of forced.
Oh yeah. And we'll come back to that when we talk about another subject. But you brought up Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yes.
That was like one of the biggest movies of my childhood. Oh, Deacon, thank you for becoming a new member. That means a lot to me.
Hey, Deacon.
But I remember watching that because I had just rented the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves movie. And it is like, okay, this was way better than that.
I mean, Robin Hood Prince of Thieves wasn't a terrible movie. It had its moments, and you can tell that Men in Tights is meant to be a direct parody of it because it mirrors it in a lot of ways with the same characters. But yeah, Men in Tights is by far more entertaining just because it just makes you laugh your ass off.
And I think the funniest thing is all the little fourth wall breaks in there.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite one is the script scene. That was the absolute best.
Wait a minute, that's not in the script.
Yeah, it's like, I lost. Like, I lost. I'm not supposed to lose. Let me see the script. And the fact that they had them there. And the truth is that sometimes the script is within arm's reach of the actors. We just don't know it. So the fact the other two pulled theirs out.
My personal favorite scene in that movie is Mel Brooks coming up as the rabbi. And they're like, well, this is sacramental wine. It's meant for blessing things.
Yeah.
Well, let's bless the trees.
Yeah. Like there's trees, there's rocks, there's birds. Oh, what the heck? Let's bless them all. It's like, it's like, and the fact is he showed up in all of his movies. I think the only one he technically did show up in Young Frankenstein. They say those are his hands at the beginning reaching into the casket. Mm-hmm. But other than that, like, yeah, he always showed up in a lot of his movies, and the parts he played was hilarious. So it wasn't just that, the director has to be in his own movies. It's like, no, he put in the work, and his characters were always funny.
And that's the thing about Mel Brooks is he's not afraid to take a jab at himself.
Exactly.
And I love the Star Wars movies. And when he did Spaceballs, I just thought it was another Star Wars movie.
There are things about that movie that I've learned lately that just make it all the more amazing. Supposedly, first of all, the special effects were done by ILM, the same guys who did Star Wars. And George Lucas owns ILM. So when Brooks went to get permission to do this, like, Lucas gave it his blessing, and I even was told that later on, when he saw a movie, he absolutely loved it. He thought it was hilarious. But the terms of letting him do it was that there could be no Spaceballs merchandise. So Brooks wrote in the scene the whole merchandising part, just as kind of a joke, referencing that whole deal. The idea that there is because there is no Spaceballs merchandise, so they. That's why they ended up. That's why you had that whole scene, because all that stuff is just other things. They just slap Spaceballs on. Like if you look closely, the coloring book is a Transformers coloring book or something.
Oh yeah, and that was one of the things that when I found out about that, I was like, oh, I wish that we could have gotten so much merchandise from that.
Well, what's funny is during the pandemic, my sister bought Spaceballs the face mask. Like, so I guess people on Etsy made those, so you could probably find something out there, and. It's just funny because you see all these things. Like, I mean, first of all, you had the yogurt doll that may the Schwartz be with you, and then also you had Rick Moranis playing with the dolls.
Oh yeah,
that scene, from what I've been told, that scene was improvised.
Oh yeah, a lot of scenes that we think are just written in the script, 9 times out of 10 improvised. And I have something for us to watch real quick.
Oh, sure.
Since we were talking about Spaceballs merchandise, let's show them some of the crazy merchandise that we could have had if it wasn't for the deal.
Who hasn't heard of yogurt?
Yogurt the wise. Yogurt the all-powerful.
Yogurt the magnificent.
Please, don't make a fuss.
Well, it's actually a bit further ahead, but this is. I love this movie.
I know
I am the keeper of a greater magic, a power known throughout the universe as the
Force.
No, the Schwartz.
Yeah, that was the idea that that word fit perfectly for this.
Schwartz.
I love he got the ring out of a box of Cracker Jacks.
Yeah, Cracker Jacks.
What is it that you do?
Here it goes.
Merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Open up this door.
Oh, the fact that Brooks is just waddling around on his knees.
I love it.
Walk this way. Take a look. We put the picture's name on everything. Merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made. Spaceballs the t-shirt. Spaceballs the coloring book.
Yep, you see Optimus Prime.
Spaceballs the lunchbox. Spaceballs the breakfast cereal. Spaceballs the flamethrower. The kids
Love it.
Last but not least, Spaceballs the dog.
Oh.
Me.
May the Schwartz be with you.
The fact that they went through the trouble to make that stuff is so funny.
I mean, that was the thing. Is Mel Brooks knew how to take the joke and make it funnier by putting that little jab in.
Oh yeah, because the thing is, he is also making fun of the fact that when George Lucas made Star Wars, the deal he made with the studios was, okay, like, you know, I'll only agree to take just the merchandising rights. That's it. Like, you know, the studios got most of the gross from when the film came out, and yet in the time since then, like I said, Lucas made a mint off the merchandise. It was just nuts. Like, you know, he was able to do that, and yeah, that's where he said where the real money is made, and you can see that today. You know, like with Disney now owning Marvel and Star Wars, yeah, like merchandising was what it was all about. I mean, like the reason why you know, with the new trilogy they introduced the new droid. They could have just kept R2D2, but no, they introduced the new droid because, hey, we could sell that. They gave C-3PO with a red arm because they knew collectors are going to want the red arm version.
Oh yeah.
So that's what it's all about.
Now, Mel Brooks films are timeless classics.
Absolutely.
But there's another timeless classic that we need to talk about. Airplane.
Yes. I mean, what's funny is I actually once thought the Airplane movies were made by Mel Brooks because they might as well have been.
Oh yeah.
So it's actually, I mean, it's one of those films, like, if you've seen it, you remember so many parts of it that are hilarious. If you haven't seen it, what the hell are you doing? Go out and see it, or not go out and see it, but, you know, find it somewhere and watch it. But it was good, and what I think I liked about it was they took a lot of jokes. Like, a lot of their jokes was where someone would say something and they decided, we're just going to take it literal. Like, someone says, I have to get these people to a hospital. Oh my God, a hospital? What is it? It's a building with patients, but that's not important right now. It's like, oh God.
Shirley, you can't be serious.
Yes, I am serious. And don't call me Shirley. I got to say, though, that film is what launched Leslie Nielsen into comedy. Because up to that point, he had done serious films. I remember seeing him in The Forbidden Planet. He was the captain in the Poseidon Adventure. And, you know, he was usually a leading man in a lot of serious movies. So one of the things they thought about doing was, let's take a serious actor and put him into a comedy. Because people are used to seeing Leslie Nielsen as this serious guy. So when he's delivering everything with a straight face, you know, it's just so funny. It's like, oh, what do we have? What was it we had for dinner tonight? It's like, well, we had a choice, steak or fish. Yes, I know, I had lasagna. It's like, he just says all these random things. That's just funny. And it's because of that we got all the other films. And, you know, as Mitchell mentions, like the Naked Gun films that came after that, which was a parody of cop movies. But yeah, Airplane was supposed to make fun of the airport movies, which were these serious, you know, air disaster films that were based off of real ones that happened, or ones that could have happened but never did. Yeah, that sort of thing. So it was actually pretty funny. And then when they did the sequel, they just figured, well, we can't just have another airplane do something, so we're going to go to space.
That's always been the craziest thing with sequels is, you know, it always goes to outer space.
Yeah.
And here's something that might blow your mind. Did you know that Leslie Nielsen was not the original choice for that role?
Oh, who was their first choice?
Christopher Lee.
Okay, that would have been funny, actually. I mean, Leslie Nielsen did a good job, but seeing Christopher Lee do that would have been hilarious. Because to see him, I mean, if he could deliver the jokes.
Oh, he definitely could, because at the time he got offered that, he hosted SNL and blew away John Belushi so much. He wrote he wrote a letter to him and gave him an autograph picture saying, "To Christopher Lee, the best from the second best, John Belushi."
Nice. Yeah, I've been told Christopher Lee had a sense of humor. It's just we never really saw it much in the movies that he was in.
And Christopher Lee, because again, I'm a horror nut, and I love the old Hammer stuff.
Oh yeah, the Hammer horror films.
Him and Peter Cushing on the set of The Curse of Frankenstein would just tell each other Looney Tunes lines.
Oh yeah. Well, I've been told Peter Cushing was actually a pretty nice guy too. Like he always played someone straight face, but like I remember, I think Carrie Fisher, may she rest in peace, once said that it was hard to speak to Peter Cushing with such a hatred or contempt, because when the camera wasn't rolling, he was the nicest guy possible, and he said like he always applied some kind of like scented oil or something, so he always smelled like lilac. So it's like you have to, or the fact that because the camera didn't look that far, he, I guess in his costume, I guess the boots were too tight or something, so he just wore like velvet slippers or something. So that's something to think about for a second. Peter Cushing blew up Alderaan wearing bedroom slippers.
Yes. And we got a quick question from Deacon.
Right.
If we could recast those movies today, who do we put in there?
Oh God, now that would be hard, because it's hard to make the movies again today. I mean, especially with all the same jokes. But if I were to pick, let's pick the hardest one, Blazing Saddles.
Oh yeah.
I would say Donald Glover would be a good choice for Sheriff Bart. As for the Waco Kid, I would probably pick Ryan Reynolds, just because he could deliver quick wit. Just the idea, like, oh yeah, when he first shows up, he's just this drunken guy, like he just has that cockeyed look to his face, like he just looks like he's done, or just already done with life. But then the moment he opens his mouth and says something silly, it's like it's just right there. Like he's got that quick wit. Go ahead.
I would say for Sheriff Bart, I would love to get Dave Chappelle to come and do it.
Yeah, he was in Men in Tights, so
it would be awesome to see him coming back to another Mel Brooks film.
Yeah, that would be funny. He'd do a good job.
But no, David Glover would just be so perfect for that role.
Yeah, he's like, oh, sorry.
I can't see anyone else doing it but him.
Yeah. And then for other movies, like it's kind of hard with First of all, Spaceballs. We never got Spaceballs 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mel Brooks, if you're out there, where's my Spaceballs 2? Damn it! I mean, you had the sequel trilogy. You could totally make fun of that. I mean, you think it'd be hard to convince Bill Pullman to come back, get impaled, fall off the bridge, only to find out he didn't actually die and he's still down there. And it's like he pulls a Will Ferrell from Austin Powers. It's like, ow!
I am just gravely injured.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like they can totally make fun of that. And like all the actors, except for John Candy, sadly, are gone. But you could easily recast them, and they could even make a joke out of that, where it's like, oh, it's been so long, some of us don't even have the same face. Because you could totally get Jack Black to play Barf.
Even if you wanted to spin it off, like, oh no, I'm Barf's great grandson.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, puke. But it's just I would love to see them do that. And Mel Brooks did make History of the World Part 2, which I have you seen it yet?
I have not.
Okay, I won't spoil anything, but it's something where he can't make it, and we'll touch into this in a bit, but it's hard to recreate that same magic. And with this one, you can see Brooks is trying. He's trying to take the jokes of the times and give it his special spin. And in some places, it hits beautifully. Other places, you kind of feel it's kind of a cheap or low hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a scene that makes fun of the age of the TikTok age, where you have someone who's supposed to be the early 20th century. They have the hand crank thing. They crank it, then they sit down. It's like that old style movie thing, but it has all the stuff on the screen that looks like TikTok. So
I can
it's
totally see that.
yeah, it's trying to make fun of that. The person's trying to be an influencer, and yet it's 1914 or something, or 1917. But then like you have like they try to make fun of the Civil War, and it's like, well, it's kind of hard to do that given the subject matter. And then there's also a skit dedicated to like the first African American Congresswoman, and you could tell they have to sort of
Tap dance.
yeah, they have sort of tap dance around that one. Like it's almost like it's hard to get away with the same jokes that he could have told years ago.
And that's a very interesting subject, because there's certain movies that I like from the worlds of action and horror that we can't redo. Like, you cannot redo Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, by the way, I watched your video of that, and that was a. I admit it is definitely a B-level slasher film for sure. Or B. Well, when I say B-level, I mean like B movies.
Yeah.
Like it's just very simple or silly. By the way, quickly to answer Juggernaut's question, I haven't seen. I don't know which tribute you're speaking of. I know Mel Brooks is still alive, so I'm sure there's a lot of tributes to him out there. I know on another YouTube channel, trying to remember who did a great video about breaking him down. It was James Rolfe, also known as the Angry Video Game Nerd. He did a good job breaking down his movies and explaining a lot about his history. So, and when I first saw that, I'm thinking like, oh God, don't tell me Mel Brooks passed away. It's like, no, he's still around. But anyways, getting back to Sleepaway Camp, that film, and I said so in the comment section, is just so over the top ridiculous, because you have people who don't act the way real people would. It's completely, and that's usually how it is with those movies.
Oh yeah.
Like it makes you laugh today. Like, see, back then it was serious. You watch them today, you laugh.
And I think that's what we need more in this world, is a good laugh. But
oh yeah,
with Mel Brooks he's on the edge of he'll push the envelope before anyone else was really doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of us like his stuff. And even the National Lampoon's Airplane movies did the same thing.
Oh yeah, those were funny. And then the Naked Gun films that came later when Leslie Nielsen was going full blown into comedy, those were good. Those made fun of a lot of stuff. It was a lot of slapstick. I feel like they were trying to. I want to say they were trying to go down the same route as films like the Blues Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
That had a lot of just out of nowhere random slapstick, like funny stuff. And I believe Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd did a Dragnet movie, which was made as a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the cult classic adaptation. I mean, these are all before we have the adaptations we have today, but they adapted the Parker Brothers board game Clue into a comedy. And Tim
Curry,
yes,
was awesome in that movie.
That all-star cast, very funny movie. If anyone out there watching who's never seen it, I recommend it. It is so funny, and it had so many good, great actors in it. And that's another point about the era. Like back then, a lot of movies, it was a lot way to be funnier. And yeah, Tim Hicks, thank you. I was just about to mention that the Hot Shots movies.
I love Hot Shots Part 2, because you got that great scene of Charlie Sheen, Martin Sheen on the boats.
Yeah, they say I loved you in Wall Street. That was so funny. I mean, it's just I love that, because the fact that they got him out there for that part. It's just, but yeah, that's another good example of parody too. Like those, like they were making fun of the Top Gun movies. It's like that was, I don't know what it is. Something the 80s and 90s were the best comedic satire films. Like that's where all the good ones were. And then something started happening. I'm not sure. Like there's just something about it. Like the chicken arrow. Sorry.
Chicken arrow.
But something started happening. I don't know what it is. I think around the time, I think when the Scary Movie films started showing up, that was around the time I think things started to decline, because the first Scary Movie film, it tried to make fun of it, of the original, of the films it was making fun of, but I feel like it was trying too hard.
Oh yeah, but and I felt bad, because after the first two Scary Movies, which would be, if you had to put them in the franchise order, Those would be the best ones.
Yeah, I would even say the third one was okay. I mean, that one had a lot of scenes that made me laugh, but I think for me, what went wrong with those movies is, and it's why the Mel Brooks films were good. If you look at say Spaceballs, it's not an attempt to recreate scenes from Star Wars. Like with the exception of they just fight with laser swords, there is no direct parody of any existing scene. And yet when you look at Scary Movie, they're trying to recreate a lot of those scenes. Like the second movie, they were trying to make fun of other films besides the horror films. Like I think they tried to recreate the whole Charlie's Angels fight scene. Like
They did.
yeah, and I think no, don't try to make don't try to make fun of a specific scene. Make fun of the plot of the movie, or you just have the plot of the film being taken seriously, but have, like it's Young Frankenstein, the plot of the film is still the same. Scientist creates monster. And okay, like that's all we needed. So let's just tell that story, but fill it with a bunch of random funny stuff.
Oh yeah, and if you look at Damon Wayans' early parody movies, he did "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker," which was a parody of blaxploitation films. And it's got that great scene of the whole plot is, the guys are passing away from OG of Overgold. and he actually stars in it. He comes home because his nephew died, and it started out he got a gold bracelet and then a couple of rings, and then he was just covered from neck to toe in gold chains.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like little jokes like that. It's like that works.
Then he did one parodying the the gangster movies, hood movies, or whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be a menace in South Central while you're drinking your juice in the hood, which, it's got both him in there. It's got Marlon, Sean in there. They're all just playing it up. And they've got a lot of the same people that he used in the Scary Movie stuff.
Yeah.
But something after 3, and we got all these awful parodies.
Yeah, like superhero movie, disaster movie, not another teen movie. It's like it's just on and it's just filled, or Meet the Spartans, like that. It's just they were trying way too hard, way too forced. And Juggernaut, by the way, on a side note, made a good point. The remake of Psycho, which was a shot per shot recreation.
Oh,
now,
yes.
I will give credit where it's due. I was impressed that they were able to do that. That they were able to match that movie perfectly. Like the same camera angles, the actors say the same lines. Like they recreated all the shots, but it didn't have the same magic that the original had. Because you might as well just watch the original. The remake just tells you, okay, great guys, you can recreate it. That's nice. I mean, give anybody a computer, and a couple of days, they could recreate the opening title sequence and an opening fight from Star Wars easily enough without having to go through the trouble of building miniatures and all that stuff. But you still want to watch the original. And
I would say this, it visually had, the base for the fire, but the acting and actually hearing them do it just didn't have that spark.
Yeah, because they were just reading what someone else had already said.
And Vince Vaughn, great actor. I mean,
yeah.
Especially at the time, he just coming off Swingers, and he was now finally getting to show his range as more of a serious actor. But just the issue you get with some of these sequels and doing shot for shot remakes is you lose that fire.
Yeah. So that's why I said in these parody films, when you're trying to recreate scenes, but then do something, try to make something silly happen in them, I don't feel like that works. Don't try to recreate something that's already happened. Make something else. And that's why I said, was Scary Movie 3, there were some parts in there that were kind of funny. Like there was a scene where, the main actress, she's looking up something, and then usually in films you suddenly hear a loud sound and then it cuts and that's to some other scene. In this case, it was like a foghorn. Well, you see the actress literally jump like she could hear it. Like it kind of breaks the fourth wall. That was funny. that doesn't, it makes fun of something in cinema, but that wasn't something that was specifically, I don't know if that was in the Ring movie, but that, to me, that was funny. Or the fact they were trying to make fun of the movie Signs. Well, first of all, it's hard to make fun of an M. Night Shyamalan movie because, well, to be fair, everyone's already done it. Those films are ridiculous. I think he only made 2 good films ever. But the rest of them are just, you laugh at them now because of how ridiculous they are and how poor direction the actors get. But you actually see like, oh, they're trying to make fun of all the different stuff that went on there, but yet they're trying to squeeze that in with the Ring movies. It just, I don't know, it just felt way out of place. And yes, Michelle, you're right. Shaun of the Dead. It refers to movies but doesn't follow them. It is a comedy zombie movie, but it doesn't take any of the. It doesn't try to recreate any of the stuff we know from zombie movies. It just was its own story.
And I think that's also because you had somebody who loved those movies.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, it's a loving tribute to Night of the Living Dead.
Exactly. Like I think it only referenced one line from it all, and the rest was just, let's just have fun making a zombie movie. And like the ending of it is just ridiculous, but works. It actually kind of almost reminded me of that one zombie movie where the zombies were domesticated. God, was it called Fido or?
I think Fido.
Yeah, it reminded me of that. So it's like, oh wow, to harken back to the one that a lot of people usually glance past in the video store. Like they see it, but then they go like, eh. But then they just keep going. But yeah, that's another example where parody gets it right, where they say, you know what, let's not try to retell an existing story. Let's just make our own.
And I think. Oh, go on. Sorry, didn't mean to
No. That I was just gonna say that's good. That's what they should do.
And I think you look at people like Mel Brooks and National Lampoons when they would parody movies, they would do it with just like you said, they would take the basis of the story and then just make it their own.
Exactly.
I mean, if you look at Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Yes. Okay. That one is, I'll admit, it's not the best Mel Brooks film, but it still had that spark.
And it was still over the top Mel Brooks comedy that we all love.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you've got, him playing Van Helsing.
Oh yeah. Or the fact that they got Leslie Nielsen, like the guy who's the king of parody movies, to play Dracula.
And one of my favorite scenes in there is Van Helsing, freaking out the med students.
Oh, I got to go back and I got to remember that one.
Where he's got all these med students and he's going over the cadaver and pulling out the organs.
Oh, yeah.
And there's just that one left. He's like, then he finally gets him. And then the nurse comes in and goes, Doctor, all of them, you've kept your record. He's like, I still got it.
Oh God, yeah, that one was. I got to do a marathon and rewatch a lot of it because I've been sticking with the same 3 for years. I've always been going between Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, and Spaceballs, and it's like I need to start watching the others again just because I'm just going by what's on streaming because we live in an age now where most people don't even play DVDs anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just a question of which movie is on what, and oddly enough, during the Darryl Brooks trial, I happened to see Young Frankenstein was available on Netflix or HBO or something, so I decided, I'm going to watch a different kind of Brooks.
Exactly. But one thing I feel that a good parody movie has to have is it has to have that right edge of skirting seriousness and slapstick.
Yep.
And
sorry, really quick. Tim Hicks mentions they did a parody of The Fugitive. I think wasn't that one called Wrongly Accused or?
Yes. Or it was the one-armed, one-eyed, one-legged man.
Yes. Like they see that's the thing. They took the script, or they took the story of a film and they stripped it down to just basically just the bullet points, but then just filled all the scenes in between with just random hilarious stuff.
Yeah, like There's a Baywatch montage scene while the U.S. Marshals are
Yes.
looking for Leslie Nielsen's character, and there's another one, Spy Hard.
Yes. Like I said, the more you think about it, like more of these came out. Like they just, that's why I said, like Leslie Nielsen just was always filled with doing those movies. And I remember he did not all of them were great. Like I know when he did Mr. Magoo, like it had some funny moments, but it kind of fell flat to me. But it was still enjoyable.
And that's another good point is, you have, actors who like Leslie Nielsen started off playing serious roles and now.
Yeah.
Okay, Jared, that's not cool, man. That is not
12
cool.
chairs.
Tones, if you're not aware, last year around this time, I was on a live stream and I broke my chair on.
Oh no.
It broke and I just went real and just started swearing that my chair broke. It's kind of like AMG with her. Well, does it have carpet in the submarines?
Yes.
That's mine.
Or windows. Oh God.
So she has the submarine incident. I have a chair. Like I could hit 100,000 subscribers. And
People
everyone's still gonna remember the chair.
Oh God, I can only imagine what mine's going to be. This is why I don't stream very often. It's like when I'm recording stuff for videos, I go through so many takes because I screw up or say something wrong. Or on one occasion, there I am going through a monologue and a freaking spider comes across my desk and it's just the sound is me just mid speech, nothing but pound noise, like me just like cursing slightly because the damn thing was getting away.
Well, for me, I was a guest on somebody's stream. And it just happened so fast that it just went poof. You just hear me. You just hear the metal break off the chair and me just loudly hitting the floor. Actually, it's become a jump scare on my when I would get super chats. So when it happens and I get a super chat, people get to enjoy this lovely moment of my YouTube career. If it will load up. That's the mild version. The other version is just worse. I was screaming.
But see, you know what it is? That actually does prove a point that sometimes comedy doesn't require a huge amount of thought. Like it just sometimes keeping it simple. Like it's just something as simple as your chair broke can make people laugh so much harder than a whole bunch of focus groups saying, "Oh, well, these are the things that are trending at the time, so it's important that we make jokes about this." It's like, no, sometimes it's just what
Jared,
happens.
it's cool. It's cool, Jared. You torture me in Discord on other ways than just my chair, and it's cool. You're my friend, man. But that's a valid point. Is the little things in movies make me smile the most.
Exactly.
Yes, CA did make a song of me breaking my chair when I hit 500 subscribers. And here is something else that you will find funny. CA's made a lot of parody songs, and I've played them for my mom while we're at doctor's appointment, just hanging out. I played her the chair song, and she likes it more than anything else he's done. She laughs every time she hears it. She goes like, "It's just funnier." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "It's just funnier." But it's like I said, the little things in TV shows and movies that make me smile the most, like the whole thing of Renfield at the end of Dracula Dead and Loving It, turning the ashes into a bat and then drawing the little penis on the bat's ashes. Or, you see an airplane, the montage of people back there getting ready to slap somebody. And,
oh yes, that was so fun. Like everyone's just lining up. Like this guy's got boxing gloves. Someone's got a crowbar. There's a woman with a gun. It's just There's actually something funny about Airplane. A great story. I managed to get down, head down south far enough to go to, I think it was either LA Comic Con or WonderCon down in like Anaheim. But I was able to get down there and attend, and I come across where some of the celebrities are that do autographs. Like not the big name ones. Usually those have long lines. Like I met the actor who played the Soup Nazi in Seinfeld. He was a delight. But right next to him was one of the Jive guys from Airplane. And it was just awesome to see him, because I had to ask him a question. And like there was a bunch of people around, and I asked him, like, okay, I have to know, how much of that stuff was that stuff scripted, or did you guys improvise? And everyone's like, oh my God, nobody's ever wondered that. And he actually told us that it technically it was both. They came up with it, but wrote it down, and then they memorized it and did it. And when it came time for God, I forgot her name, but she was from Leave It to Beaver. For her to say it, he told me like she was the nicest lady to work with. Like she wanted to really get this down, so she worked with them, for an hour or two, like a day, to make sure she said it right. And when she did deliver it, it just was perfect. It's just funny how she goes like, "Oh, stewardess, I speak jive." it's just, I love that. It's just the fact it was this whole language.
And again, that's another small thing in the movies that make me smile.
Exactly. It's like it was just something. It was such a simple joke, and yet they made it brilliant. And I especially love for the sequel when the guy's giving testimony at the trial. Barbara Billingsley. That's what it was. He's saying it all in jive, and the stenographer suddenly has sunglasses on, moving his head like he's Stevie Wonder. It was just too perfect.
And something I have to bring up is, you get parody, and then you get satire, but there's that line of just knockoff.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with that, the knockoff movies are stuff that are clear ripoffs of upcoming or movies that have already come out or are about to come out.
Yeah, they're films that are ridiculous. You probably will laugh at them, but that wasn't their intention. Like it's one thing when someone makes a parody film for the purpose of, oh, this is a comedy because we're making fun of something. It's worse when, no, dead serious, we're trying to make our own version of this movie, and somehow they are surprised that it doesn't do as well because it's a cheap knockoff.
And I have a couple of trailers for us to watch of some of these awful knockoff movies. And
oh boy,
let's kick off with a Jaws ripoff, which there are a lot of them.
Oh, there are so many shark movies. It's ridiculous. I think it just becomes, I mean, let's see it, because it's like I'm thinking of like 50 of them already in my head.
Now, this one has several different titles because it's an Italian movie. It's known as Great White or The Last Shark. It's even been called Cruel Jaws, which was an Italian version of Jaws 5.
Oh, jeez.
So
now foreign versions, okay, I can understand. They think everything's better with explosions.
In a world of blackness, beneath these waves, there are no days, no nights, no seasons, only endless existence. And a being whose only thought since the beginning.
Oh, God.
That movie, like the sharks, like it comes up and its head just opens up and opens up. And there are even clips of just random shark stock footage.
Well, to be fair, in the Jaws film, they did use some stock footage of sharks, but not a lot. And that was only, and their excuse was only because the shark wasn't always working.
Exactly.
But that actually made the movie better because they had a lot of times where you couldn't see the shark. It just, there was something there.
Well, there's a scene in the movie where Vic Morrow and the second lead, are underwater in a cave, and the shark traps them in the cave. But the shark they use is clearly a bath toy.
Oh, jeez.
Like you can tell because it doesn't match up. It looks like it's either paper mache or poorly made plastic.
Oh God, and it hasn't gotten any better, by the way. I mean, you got Sharktopus. There's the triple-headed shark. Attack of the Jurassic Shark. It's just there's so many shark movies. It's been so overdone. And then what happens? Hollywood comes out with the Meg.
And then we get Meg 2.
I know. Now they're going to have the Meg 2. Now, the funny thing is the Meg wasn't a terrible movie. It was almost like, you know what? Let's there's so many freaking shark movies. Let's take this time to actually show what happens when you're not making a cheap knockoff of Jaws.
Yes.
And it was actually it was not bad.
Now, here's one. It's a King Kong ripoff.
Oh God. I think I remember you mentioned this one.
Yes. King Kong ripoffs, there's 3 that stand out to me. Mighty Peking Man, Queen Kong, which is a British sex comedy, where the roles are reversed. Instead of Fay Ray, we have Ray Fay. And a queen instead of a King Kong. But this one is the third one. It's called Ape. Or as it's also known, Attack of the Horny Gorilla. I found the original Ape trailer, and you can clearly see this was a King Kong ripoff.
See 10 tons of animal fury leap from the tree.
Hey, look!
Oh God, it's dubbed.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
This had the help of the U.S. military.
They seriously helped make this.
Yes. I am dead serious. The movie has a special thanks to the
Jaws
military.
of great white shark.
He's fighting a shark.
A dead shark.
Giant ape vanquish monster reptile.
Oh, jeez.
Oh man, he vanquished that thing.
See ocean liner demolished.
That's not even an ocean liner. That was a cargo ship.
The mom from Growing Pains.
Oh, jeez.
See Metropolis fight to survive
I
flaming
thought so.
Holocaust.
Metropolis.
I was like, that's Metropolis, or where the hell's Superman?
Beauty and embrace of 36-foot monster.
Okay, where was this movie made?
Korea.
Oh, of course.
C8.
Not to be confused. Okay, the fact they have to say that at the end tells you a lot.
Oh yeah.
There was definitely legal problems.
Oh yeah. This movie is one of the worst movies out there. And the funny thing is this. I said it twice already, but at the end of the movie, there is a special thanks to the U.S. military for helping them shoot this movie.
I wonder what they did. I'm curious. It could have been anything. I mean, they could have given them stock footage, or that could be it too.
Since it was shot in Seoul, South Korea, and we had a military base there, still do. They actually got military personnel to perform in the movie.
Oh, gee.
There's a scene of the colonel talking to a South Korean, I don't know, government official. That's the best way I can describe it. And his voice does not even sync up to what their conversation is.
Oh yeah,
he's like, yeah, you do that.
Yeah, the foreign dubs are always the funniest because it's like the stuff that people are trying to say doesn't match up at all with what's going on in the movie, and it's just so ridiculous. I mean, one, you only look at the original Godzilla movies.
Oh yeah,
to see that, but that was one of the things that made it funny. And then, of course, the idea that you've got these Pat's Cats Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. That was
that got 3 different movies, I think.
I know. The fact that managed to get 2 sequels is it's so stupid, and yet that's what the appeal was. That's why people remember it. But No, the fact that it said not to be confused with King Kong, it's like, oh god, it reminds me of that joke from the third Austin Powers film. Like, it's Godzilla. It looks like Godzilla, but due to international copyright law, it is not. Still, we should run like it is Godzilla, although it isn't. It's like the fact that they said the name means that they clearly got that sorted out, but they thought it was be funnier to make a joke about that.
Oh yeah. And now the big thing about the Italian knockoff films is they would get American actors to come over and shoot these movies.
I'm amazed anyone would agree.
As long as the paycheck clears, I guess.
I mean, to be fair, we have to give credit where it's due to the Italians, because they made a lot of the great westerns, the spaghetti westerns.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, Clint Eastwood went over there a lot to do western films made by them. So my guess would be that Hollywood and them had a good working relationship, where it's like, okay, it's not a bad idea to go star in a film being made by the Italians.
Now, there are two action films that are just when you see the trailers, you know what they're ripping off. They're clear rip-offs of the first one will be First Blood with Rambo.
Oh, gee.
Both starring the same actor, Michael Sacchi. And this movie is just...
Are you Tiger Shark?
You hit him once more.
It's
and
just
I swear
crazy.
I'll destroy
Oh, God.
You have no proof. I'm a son of a bitch.
I don't think your mom would like that, bro.
Just to hit him. Shoot to kill.
This just screams 80s.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take care of that. My brother started it all. Hi, Tig. I'm sorry for what they did.
Me too, Tom. But I always pay my debts.
The whole point is he plays an ex-cop.
There's just no answer to violence.
Who went to
Look, I
prison
know
for
it's all you've been
murder,
doing for the last 8 years,
and now
but
he's
think
trying to
about
get revenge. Moves out to the woods. So
The
redneck killed his
consequences.
daughter and a deer, and now he goes on a bloody rampage.
Oh, that definitely sounded like somebody who was in a real life or death situation.
You know what this means?
God, the acting is so bad.
There's only one way you're gonna stop Tiger now. Kill him. Or else he's gonna rip us all apart.
They
One by
even
one.
steal scenes from First Blood.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jim Carter.
The fact it's called Blast Fighter, that's just such a terrible name.
Chance. You said we're all in the same boat. Every one of you could end up with a ticket to the chair.
The bad redneck voices.
Oh, yeah. Or the music, too. It's like...
Even the poster was a shot-for-shot ripoff of First Blood.
Oh, jeez. I feel like and also notice it's practically the entire movie in the trailer. It leaves nothing to the imagination. That's such a stupid name, Blast Fighter. It's like everything about it just looks ridiculous.
And the beauty about Blast Fighter is Michael Sacchi he's actually a really good actor. But what he does in there as, you know, this man on revenge, it just does not make any sense with the rest of the movie. You know, he's got his friend showing up, his estranged daughter. He finds a deerling and he's trying to raise it, and they take that away from him. He's like, okay, now I'm going to pull out this super awesome gun that fires gas-propelled rockets and smoke bombs.
You know what it's like? It's like they had their original movie, and then somebody decided, like, oh, well, I'm going to inject stuff into it that reminds people of the Rambo movie because that came out recently, and maybe that'll make it more interesting.
And here's something else. This is the last trailer I have of Michael Sacchi's. This is 2019, The Fall of New York.
Oh, jeez.
You tell me what movie they're ripping off.
Let's see. There's a few things. First of all, the moment I saw the eye patch, I'm thinking, okay, they're trying to make fun of Escape from New York, but also it looks like they're trying to do Road Warrior or Mad Max as well. It's like they couldn't pick which one. Yeah, I also cut that too. Pat's got the Euro Afro Asian. It's like, geez, this guy hates everybody in the world.
The plot of that movie is a rip off of Escape from New York,
Okay.
where Michael Saki has to go and find the last fertile woman on the planet.
Oh my god!
And she is in like a hyperbaric time chamber where he has to rescue her from mutants, cyborgs, and the Euro Afro Asian
Oh my
alliance.
god! Oh, that's so stupid.
He teams up with a guy named Big Ape.
Oh, was he in the previous movie's trailer?
Yes. But here's the thing. To make him look like more of an ape man, all they did was put a unibrow on him.
Oh, God.
But that is an attempt at knockoffs. Real knockoffs, if you want to talk about bad ones, look at The Asylum.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the movies those guys make, it's ridiculous. I mean, as I kept mentioning it, for all you young people out there, there was this mythical place that we used to go to called Blockbuster. And when you went up and down the aisles and you were looking for a certain movie, you always found to the left or right of it a film that was kind of similar, but with another title. NCR, you mentioned, yeah, there was Transformers, but right next to it was something called Transmorphers. Then next to 2012, you had, Mayan Apocalypse 2012 or something. It's like all these Sci-Fi Channel original movie level, low budget films. I mean, I swear, even that one guy, God, what's his name? That famous for making cheap movies.
Roger Corman.
Yeah, like these were movies Roger Corman would look at and say, like, what the heck, guys? You could spend a little money on that.
I mean, come on, guys. I spent $1 million on Connoisseur. You can do at least spend 10 G's. Come on. Guys.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they were so cheap, and that's what these things are. Like they're so, and the CGI in them is so god awful.
I am going to pull up. I'm not going to play any of their trailers because they are very, very strict on hitting people with copyright notifications. But just so people can see what kind of schlock that they're showing these days. Wrong asylum. I know, I do tech.
Yeah.
Here we go. The Asylum official trailers. And this is what we're talking about right here.
Yeah, see, now they've done Transmorphers. They did
Mecha Beasts.
Oh god, they found a way to merge Little Mermaid with Finding Nemo, which is kind of ridiculous. Now, to be fair, Little Mermaid is I believe it's public domain, because they're referencing the Hans Christian Andersen book. Doomsday Meteor, which is so ape versus mecha ape. I mean, this is the stuff that you saw in on the marquee in B movies in the background. Like, this was titles you would hear in the 50s.
And here is something else. And I mean, they're literally going
Top Gunner, Danger Zone. That's real subtle.
Okay, and look at this. Jurassic Domain or Dominion.
Dominion. It's just
we have
Moon Crash.
Megaboa. Megalodon Rises.
Planet Dune. Oh, for God's sake.
Okay, somebody's catching a lawsuit on that one right here.
Aquarium of the Dead. Like, are you kidding me?
Ape versus Monster.
Alien Conquest. It's just, oh my God. Oh, Airliner Sky Battle. How does that even work?
Top Gunner, the original.
Oh, jeez. It's just Battle Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like, how, you're right. How do these guys not get sued?
The Adventures of Aladdin. Come on.
I mean, to be fair, the thing we have to remember, and like I mentioned with a few other movies, if they are based off of of public domain properties, and people can make them as much as they want. I even did a video explaining like why the slasher film that used Winnie the Pooh was a terrible idea. It's like somebody made it just because they knew it would get a reaction.
And the thing about the asylum is,
was there a parody of Cars? I'm sorry, I noticed that at the bottom. If you can go, are you able to go back?
Yeah, I can pull it back up. Yeah,
please do. Did I just see an actual recreation of Cars?
I think you might have. I will pull that up. But the issue with public domain and horror movies and anybody just trying to take properties and make them into movies is you got to have the right script. You got to have that right spark. If not, you end up with stuff like The Asylum.
Oh yeah. Well, what's funny is when I talked about the Winnie the Pooh slasher film, I mentioned, what if the Peanuts gang becomes public domain? What if someone makes a horror movie about it? And like I proceeded to make a quick joke of what it would sound like, but it's like the more I thought of it, the more I'm thinking, oh God, I actually know what a screenplay for that would be. It would basically make fun of like the Halloween movie. It would be like, it's years later, the Peanuts gang are all adults. Yeah, there it is, cargo trailer. God, that's so stupid. But I thought to myself, like, okay, imagine like, it's later on in time, like the Peanuts gang, they're all grown up now, and and all of a sudden someone murdered Lucy, bludgeoned her head to death with a football or something, and Linus has to come back to town, because he had long since moved away, and and he meets Sally again after all these years, and and they seem to hint that something happened to Charlie Brown or Snoopy or whatever, and then like all of a sudden every one of the characters one by one are getting killed. Like someone buries Pigpen alive, somebody strangles Schrodinger with a piano wire or something, or stuffs him in his piano, and then it's revealed that it's Charlie Brown because he snapped and went to a mental asylum, and he escaped and now seeking revenge. And I don't know, ultimately the final showdown comes to to meet at Snoopy's grave, because apparently Linus was the reason Snoopy died, but he never told him. It's like it would just be so it could be complex. It could work. And then in the end, Sally has to be the one to kill him or something. It's like you could easily do that. You could make a slasher film about the Peanuts gang. But why would you? Why should you? That's a terrible idea. Like Charles Schultz's children and grandchildren would hate you for that.
And Jared brought up a movie I've actually watched, the Banana Splits horror movie.
Oh God.
It is awful. It's dated beyond dated. I love the fact that the Banana Splits are animatronic in this, but they were originally planned to be military robots.
Okay, I've never seen this, but I'm starting to. It's just that description alone is making me laugh.
There's a subplot of they were going to make a new Banana Split, but the doctor, dies, or the show gets canceled. I forget which one it was that makes them. But the reason why they go on a killing spree is because of a surge protector and a critical systems update.
Oh God. Yeah, it makes you. I'm sure people will be skipping their Windows updates now as a result of that. But
don't skip your updates, folks. Just saying.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. No, okay, Juggernaut made a good point. They made the show Riverdale, which was basically a edgy adaptation of the Archie comics.
Yeah,
and it's like, why?
And something about Riverdale that kind of upset me is, okay, I'm an Ohioan. I'm from Ohio. I live in Ohio. There was this thing where Jughead said, well, we can go visit my mom's farm. She lives outside of Toledo. People were like, there's no such thing as farms outside of Toledo.
Yeah.
No, there are farms all over Ohio, especially outside of Toledo. But, we see this issue with trying to make something edgier when it doesn't need to be.
Yeah. and getting back onto it with parody and knockoffs, it's like people want to make the movie somebody else has already done, or make the movie nobody wants to, because they think that, oh, if I do that, suddenly that puts me on level with everyone else, with the people who did.
It's like, I watched Rocky, so now I'm gonna make my own Rocky movie, but I'm gonna call it something else.
Ricky.
Yeah,
there is actually a boxing movie called Ricky.
Oh my god, I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah, I didn't see all of it. Like, it was referenced. I think it's called Ricky 1. It's like, I'm thinking, what, they were planning on making. Don't put numbers before these things. You're expecting them to make more. It's terrible. Now,
I would say this: the European market for knockoffs and ripoffs are just they were the golden age, because there's a Filipino James Bond parody starring a 2-foot-tall little person by the name of Wang Wang. That was his real name.
Oh my god!
And it is called For Your Height Only, or as it is in the credits, Your Height Only.
Oh god!
And it is just constant little people jokes.
Okay, I can see why that could be funny, but at the same time, it's like, you know what? Coming back full circle, someone who says, you know what? Let's make this movie. Let's make it ridiculous. Let's make it hilarious, and let's just, wear down the little people jokes to the point where they stop being controversial and they could be laughing. That was the Mel Brooks magic. So for all we know, this movie, while absolutely terrible, could just make you laugh your ass off watching it.
Oh yeah, especially the crime boss is Mr. Giant, who happens to be a taller little person.
I think he would have chosen the name Mr. Big, but I guess that was already taken.
It does not make sense, because there's so many subplots of like, well, is he breaking up a slavery ring, or is he stopping a terrorist group? Is he stopping a drug cartel? Which is it?
Yeah.
And again, it's the ripoff and parody are just so hand in hand. It just, where's that fine line?
Yeah, and getting back to my earlier point, if you're trying to make something good, like, why try to rip off or parody something that already exists? Like, don't try to recreate something like, or don't try to recreate something that's already there. Like, try to come up with something original. Make something original, and the rest will take care of itself. Like, don't just rip off someone else's concept.
Oh yeah. Like, one of the best parody movies I've ever seen. It's Spaceballs. I just love it.
And let's really think about it. Like, if you really were to break it down to what does it have in common with Star Wars? Unlikely hero rescues princess from evil empire with guy in a big black helmet with a laser sword. That's it. I mean, sure, there's robots. Sure, there's the troops in the white uniforms and stuff and all that. Like, yeah, but things start to diverge away after that. Like, the story is just stripped down to its just basic elements, and then that's it. And as I mentioned, it doesn't try to recreate shot for shot existing scenes. Like, it's not making fun of Star Wars. It's making a comedy story in a universe that looks like Star Wars.
And then there's the small things in there, like the end where they're trying to escape, and there's so many pods.
Oh yeah,
everyone's taking them. The band has taken one. Who are you? I'm the bearded lady.
Yeah. Or the fact like, even the bear takes it and everything, and it just happens to be the three of them, only the three of them. It's like there's enough pods for literally everybody, even though there were fewer doors on that wall than there were people, but yet somehow only them were the last ones.
But Spaceballs is just that perfect parody movie. There's all the small things. There's the Star Wars references, and then one of the breakout characters for me is Prince Valium.
Yeah,
who's just constantly yawning.
Yeah, because it's too perfect. You have a narcoleptic guy who's named after a sleeping pill. Oh yeah, Juggernaut, Spaceballs, there goes the planet. The fact that they got a couple of guys in full Planet of the Apes makeup to show up, and you have to wonder which joke was written first. That they made Mega Maid look like the Statue of Liberty because it was going to end up on that planet to do the Planet of the Apes joke, or did someone think about it afterwards and realize, oh yeah, it looks like that. Let's have it land on the Planet of the Apes.
And again,
it's just too perfect.
Also, the whole thing, you've got just these characters who you're supposed to be taking seriously, but just whole little President Screw salute.
Yeah. I love that. It's the whole like doing the up yours, but then like going, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm just waving. Or the fact that they beam him into the next room, and he's as he's backwards. Like, why did somebody tell me my ass was so big? Or the fact he says, no, I'm just gonna walk, and he just walks through the door. It's just so dumb. Or the fact that the guy who's like seeing him snotty, he's got the hat on and the kilt. It's like it's all those little things here and there that just get thrown in,
and it just makes you smile.
Yeah, it's just one joke after the next, and I feel like we've lost that, because today, there are plenty of funny movies out there, and I think it's when they're just trying to be original, like comedic originals. Like those are all good, but parody films, I feel like, have lost that magic.
Yeah,
like they're trying too hard.
And that's the sad thing is, there's so much you can parody in a movie, especially something like, a disaster movie.
Yeah,
you can parody the hell out of an Indiana Jones movie.
Probably could.
You could parody the hell out of, well, look at the This Is the End. It's like it's a parody of disaster movies and rapture movies. And it's the perfect parody. You've got the celebrities playing like dumber versions of themselves.
Exactly. That I thought was funny. That they had that in. Like I remember the trailer. It's like where they actually got Emma Watson to show up and like kick their ass. Like, yeah, we just got robbed by Hermione. Like the fact that like any person you see who shows up, it's like they just ask them, "Hey, do you want to come in on this movie and play as yourself doing something completely bad, crazy?" It's like the fact that anyone who showed up said yes. It's like sometimes it's good to have fun.
Yeah. What's some of your favorite movie, Tones, that you think is the perfect parody?
Well, the Mel Brooks films are perfect parody films, but I mean, if we wanted to expand outside of comedy, there's a lot of films that in my mind are really good, and there are also films that I like, and this might be something I mentioned because tonight I'm actually to go see the new Indiana Jones film, which reminds me, what time is it? Oh yeah, I got time. I got another 10 minutes. But anyways, yeah, there are a lot of films that I like that a lot of people said, oh, these are terrible, blah, blah. It's like, I might do a video talking about this, but sometimes we go to a movie just to have fun, just to be entertained.
And that's something we need. And my brother has the perfect term for that. He calls them popcorn films.
Exactly. I love that term because if I were to mention a popcorn film, a film that anyone could tell me is stupid, but I could say, you know what? I enjoy watching it. It was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Now that title alone already makes you think, what? Like it's ridiculous. But when you actually watch the movie, they actually tried to take it seriously. They made a very good action movie that, yes, by all accounts makes no sense. It's not historically accurate, but somehow it still works and it was entertaining. I mean, NCR, you ever see that movie?
Yes, I have. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had somebody come in and talk to me. I did.
Oh, no worries.
But yeah, I love that movie. Actually, it's one of the.
A lot of people say, "Oh, this film was stupid or terrible. Oh, it got panned." It's like I don't care. If you want to watch something, cerebral or thought-provoking, go watch a Stanley Kubrick movie. But sometimes you want to just sit down, turn off your brain, and enjoy some mindless entertainment. I mean, for instance, the Fast and Furious franchise has been going on for years, and the latest one just came out. Is it stupid? Absolutely. Is it getting more and more over the top and crazy? Hell yeah. Are they fun to watch? Yeah. You watch them because they're ridiculous. I mean, you're basically watching a film adaptation of Grand Theft Auto 5 online. That's all it is. Like the game and the movies are almost working off of each other because what appears in one is going to show up in the other.
I tend to agree with you on that because I'm the same way. If I want to watch a moving period piece movie that's going to make me think, I'll watch something like Schindler's List. I'll watch The Great Escape.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
I just want to chill out and just kill time.
Yeah, and that's the mindset I'm going into watching the Indiana Jones film because I've managed to avoid spoilers. I have not watched anyone's review of it. All I've seen is titles and a lot of people saying, "Oh, it was bad." Well, it's an Indiana Jones film. They've all been enjoyable. I actually thought Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was entertaining. Sure, is it the best movie? No, that goes to Raiders. The first one is always the best. I mean, some people say Temple of Doom is, but no, I say Raiders is still the best. It's the original. But then Crystal Skull, sure, you could laugh at it. You could say it's terrible. You can mock the actors and everything. But at the end of the day, it's not supposed to be a film that you take super serious. It's not supposed to be this mind-blowing cinematic masterpiece. It's just an adventure film that you just go and watch and just enjoy the action, enjoy the fun. And I feel like people are expecting too much from their movies these days.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially when they see like a serious actor, and they've seen him in all these serious roles, and then they see him do something like perfect example is Harrison Ford. We've seen him in all these action movies, and we've seen him in Star Wars, and we've seen him in Indiana Jones, Air Force One. Serious actor, but then we see him in Anchorman 2.
Yeah.
He plays a were-hyena.
And the funny thing is, Harrison Ford does have a great sense of humor in real life. I remember once he actually arranged for this, but when he had to show up at Comic-Con or something, I think because of the new Star Wars film, he had 2 police officers escorting him in handcuffs to his seat and the panel as if he did not want to be there. And that was something he went along with. He thought it was hilarious. So also there was even a question where they said, "Oh, if you had something you can go anywhere, where'd you go?" And he says, "Home." It was like, I haven't been back in a long time. And it's like, that's both serious, but at the same time, you can't help but laugh because it's like, you know what? That's a genuine answer. He's worked very hard. He's had a long career. He's had to sacrifice a lot. Like he wants to take some time away. And I'm thinking, you know what? He's earned it.
Yeah.
Like the man has given us so much. So if he wants to play a were-hyena in a movie just because he thinks it's funny or enjoyable, yeah, please do. Go ahead. Whatever makes you happy.
I mean, the ending fight scene in Anchorman 2, you see a lot of actors in there that serious roles in movies. Like you got John C. Reilly in there. You've got Sacha Baron Cohen who can play serious. You've got Will Ferrell who's breaking into serious. Paul Rudd and you got Jim Carrey. Yeah, Audrey Plaza.
Yeah, Steve Carell.
You had Liam Neeson for the History Channel. He's like, we represent the History Channel. We're just news, but it's happened already.
Yeah. I got to go back and watch that now. It's been I barely remember it. Like I need to go back and watch both films because I have very vague memory of both films.
Like I have the extended Blu-ray cut. And there's this great scene with Drake talking to Will Ferrell and Christina Applegate. And he says, "Ron Burgundy, your woman's ass is like the Loch Ness Monster. Mysterious and ever sought after." I'm just like, how is that going to work?
And somehow it does. And you know what? That worked. And you know why? Because what is Anchorman? Is it a parody of something? Like it makes fun of people in news, sure, but it's not a direct attempt to rip something off. It's a self-contained original concept, and it's just jokes. It's not following a preset. It doesn't have to fit into any mold. It just does its own thing, and it's got a lot of jokes that hit that are just funny.
Oh yeah, and if you look at like the first one, and if you wanted to put it in, well, does it parody? Yeah, well, it parodies the whole local news dynamic.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've all seen our local channel affiliates, the voted #1 anchor team, or the region's best, weather reporter. But then if you look at the sequel, it parodies the whole 24-hour news stations.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, 24-hour news, that just seems like a joke back in the 80s. Like, what would you cover? And he covers that car chase. And that's kind of what news has become.
Yeah, it's just I mean, there's a great song. I think it was I think it was done by Don Henley. It was Dirty Laundry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that it was basically about that. It was just like everyone's just looking for a car chase that they could just talk about for hours, that only and a chase that only lasted for 5 minutes.
And I think that's like the perfect example of how you can spoof something perfectly, and still not make it a ripoff.
Yeah, or a ripoff or something that's not trying too hard.
Yeah,
it's because.
We'll go on.
Well, I was going to say there's a show that talks about news programs from HBO called The Newsroom. Now that was a film that it gave us, like The West Wing. Aaron Sorkin has this tendency to make movie or shows about, let's take an institution and let's imagine the best case scenario. Let's have a White House that's filled with the right people. Let's have a news program that's everything, the antithesis of mass media, where it's more about actually being a news program and not, what sensationalized entertainment or something. It's like, and so that's another idea. It's like you could take something and say, you know what, let's show it in a different light. And that's what Anchorman also did. It showed it in a comedic light. It made fun of all the stuff that we see, while HBO's The Newsroom emphasized all the things we wish we could see.
And that's a valid point. I mean, with the 24-hour news cycle, if it bleeds, it leads. You kind of needed something like Anchorman to spoof it, because it gave us that perfect blend. But to come back to the topic at hand, it's comedies and parodies are just perfect examples of taking a serious subject and making it more fun.
Exactly.
To deal with. I mean, Mel Brooks has tackled sexism, racism, political ideology with all of his films in a fun, comedic way.
Well, I mean, it comes from his history. I mean, growing up, he had to deal with anti-Semitism. He was bullied a lot, and he used jokes and humor as his way to get through it and to overcome it. So he understood the value of laughter and being able to. Because if I may, I don't want to break out the soapbox for this, but in today's world, people are not we're not using laughter anymore as our coping mechanism. We're like, people are now being just using outright hostility or just bitterness or rudeness against something that's controversial. Like, everyone just wants to be mad at it, but nobody wants to. I'm not saying that you should make every serious thing a laughing matter, but nobody's using anything positive to cope with it. It's all negativity.
Oh yeah.
We need laughter in order to get through a lot of this stuff. I mean, and thankfully there are some hosts, not late night hosts out there, who just make joke after joke after joke. That, sure, a lot of them are just real taking jabs at certain people because they're heavily left or right. But some of them are real bangers. They do a good job, just letting us realize just how ridiculous some of this stuff can be. Because when you look at Mel Brooks, he basically took the idea of racism and made it made it ridiculous. It's like it just became it makes you look at it and say, God, that's incredibly stupid. Why do people follow this ideology? Or why do people or when Hitler on Ice, like, or the producers, the whole Springtime for Hitler things, like oh God, this guy is so ridiculous. Why did anybody listen to him?
And that's the point is we need comedy,
Yeah,
especially now. And I go by the motto: if I can't laugh at my own tragedies, there's no point in me existing.
exactly.
Like, best example is my chair incident. I own it now. It's who I am.
Yeah.
Like I plan on making T-shirts with me breaking the chair.
There you go.
But you look at stuff in the news or dealing with what we have to deal with, covering soft SIDs and frauditors, Karens. We need a joke, and we need to laugh.
Exactly, and that's why I cut away to a classic Mel Brooks moment when things are getting too ridiculous, stupid, or heated. Just have a reaction, something that just can give you a moment to take you out of it and just crack a smile. And I took the concept of the ridiculous red hat that more sovereign citizens wear and say, you know what? Let's give that thing a face, a robotic British voice, and just a whole bunch of sass. And there you go. And that was how Fezzington was born. So it's important to laugh at this stuff, because if we just let it gnaw at us, it's just going to make us miserable.
Oh yeah, and to help wind down this, and if we don't laugh and we don't take the time to enjoy our passions, like your passionate love for Mel Brooks's films, we can't enjoy the simpler things once we have the time to.
I agree.
And I mean, what's the point in doing all this if we can't make everyone happy? We can't make people smile. Take that bad day and just give them 10, 20 minutes of just, okay, I need to laugh at stupid.
Yeah.
Tones, is there anything you would like to plug or promote? Please feel free.
Well, I was going to say, I want to thank everybody who showed up to watch. And, if you're not already, if you haven't already seen my channel, feel free to check it out. It's Tones Overthinks It. Myself and Fezzington are there to, between laughing at the stupid and I myself just asking the questions nobody thought to ask. But when they do, people suddenly have to go, now it's going to be stuck in my head wondering that. So, that's me, just overthinking everything. So, and of course, NCR, thank you for having me on. And, I hope, glad to see your new channel on movies. I hope it takes off and we get to have more fun like this.
Oh yeah. I want to reach out to more people in the community, and I want to get their takes on different movies as well, because, that's a great way for us to share our love with other people.
Yeah. And as you said, it's a chance to take a break, a break from all the stupid, all the controversy, all the drama, and just, just be able to just have some fun, let off some steam.
I'm going to be dropping a link to your channel real quick.
Thank you.
Because I got people asking for it. But, it's like this. I feel if we can share our love of different movies, different TV shows, different genres of music, even to help everybody just enjoy, I think that would be the best thing for us, especially in our community where we have to deal with a lot of stupid.
Absolutely.
Guys, thank you for showing up to the first episode of Movie Talk. Tones, again, thank you for showing up and being my very first guest.
Oh, it was a pleasure. And thank you again for having me on.
With that being said, everyone be well, be safe, and I hope to see you guys next time.
Take care, everybody.